suppose I should turn off this. Live, more or less, from Las Vegas. With Mark Anthony, I'm Rick Rose, and this is Good Sports. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Not that much, huh? Yeah, it is kind of a slow day. Lull between with the World Series going on and NFL tonight and whatever. It's just kind of a lull in the activities. I think I'm Pro Bowl Riders World Championship. Congrats, two-time world champion J.B. Mooney, who amazingly enough did not ride on Sunday because of an injury he sustained in winning the championship on Sunday. Saturday. He had a big enough lead that he did not have to ride on Sunday. Calmer heads prevailed, I believe, as you do, that J.B. Mooney would have gone out there with no arm or missing limbs. If he needed to ride on Sunday, he would have ridden and for the championship, but he had it all wrapped up on Saturday. A very, very deserving champion, as we've trumpeted him for the last few months. This guy hasn't shied away from a single bull. And now that they get to pick their bulls, it's not by random. He kept choosing the tough bulls and forced everybody else's hands to take a similarly tough rank bull that they maybe would not have normally done to position themselves for the championship. But injured, they say this injury may last 6 months before it actually heals up. And they only have about another 4 weeks before the next event, the first event that counts for the 2016 season. It's going to be interesting to see if he can stay healthy and defend his title.
Come on. This is
different. That's they talk. It's always funny to me, the hangnail, and he's going to miss 3 weeks. A dinged up this or a little sore, and we don't want to injure it further. you see the Cowboys drag themselves out there. They're into the arena onto a bull that they then are going to have to get off successfully and hope that the bullfighters aren't having a tough day. And nothing, rarely does anything stop them. How many guys do we see go to the hospital and come back and ride the next day? It was quite the finals, I thought.
Yeah, but this year was a little bit rougher than previous years. Yes, they get checked out and come back, but what, 4 of them went out on backboards? 4 or 5 of them went out on backboards?
Well, yeah, and back to back twice. Robson Palermo, was like 3 feet from us, and they were afraid that he'd broken his neck. One of the other riders did break his neck. He was at least across the arena from us, or halfway across the arena over by the chutes. And then we saw two riders, including Ben Jones, one of the most, and get KTFO. I mean, they were knocked out laying there and God bless Shorty Gorman, Jesse Byrne, and Cody Webster. And who am I leaving out there? Shorty and Cody. Well, we have Flint, Shorty, Cody, Jesse, Frank Newsom, and the fearless one. And I think those guys are the ultimate first. Bull's not done people yet, and you're running over there. To the fire. Those guys are already at the scene of the fire. Fire starts. That's when they open the chutes, and we saw a lot of bulls acting up more in the chutes. I think they were much tougher to get on and to kind of get a seat on. Open the chutes. We saw. I thought it was a higher number than normal, and maybe it was just that anomaly. Things work out. Maybe, but there seemed to be quite a bit of activity in the chutes with the bulls, not wanting to have somebody sit on them even for that little bit of time. But I thought it was wonderful. Grand finale at the Thomas and Mack. Unfortunately, as far as I'm concerned, they're going over to the money grubbers. MGM. It's amazing how that worked out. But they're going over to the new arena next year. The National Finals Rodeo, the NFR, comes here in a month or so, and they've signed to stay on at the Thomas and Mack, which I think is very cool. Kind of the deal that made them. I was here when they moved from Oklahoma City. They moved the finals from OKC here. Now, really a funny story, kind of, Mark. I was a dealer on the Strip. My first gig on the Strip. We were at the Silver Slipper, and I'd been there a little bit. And somebody said, "Hey, man, if you home to Colorado or whatever," and I said, "No, I'm not thinking. My family's here. We're going to do Christmas here." They said, "Well, entire month off from the day after Thanksgiving until the day after Christmas, and your job will be here waiting for you." The month is so dead. And I said, "No, I don't think so. Not this year." They said, the National Finals Rodeo is coming in. Cowboys don't play and whatever. And so they went about there. I told a couple of the bosses, "Don't let everybody go home because we're going to need dealers." And sure enough, they said, these guys, that's a nothing. It's one more thing here in Vegas and blah, blah, blah. Will have no impact whatsoever. And the place was run over with cowboys and cowgirls and fans. And we had shift guards. We had guys in suits. I think they were to work craps one day because the guy had been a dealer in a former life or something. Just had no coverage whatsoever. And I mean, we were working our butts off for the entirety of the first year that the NFR came in, and it has been a huge boon for that month. I mean, that really was a dead month. That entirety from Thanksgiving to Christmas here in Vegas, and they changed the profile now and that time off. So. Are you doing the Are you doing the NFR this year? Are you covering that?
I'll be there for 10 freaking long days in the media room.
You'll be in the media room. You're not going down to the. Do they have a moat there set up?
Nope.
The last time
they have a moat for the photographers that are probably about the size of the bathroom at Thomas and Mack. Okay.
Oh.
If even that, and they shove, I think
that's too bad,
like 10 or 12 photographers in there, and no.
Wow. I have no comment on that. That's unfortunate. It's more difficult when the Pro Bowl riders are here. They split the arena in half, and that accommodates twice as many people as they could from the sides, simply because they put you on each side in the middle. But it was interesting, Mark, and I like rodeo. I grew up in Colorado, and first sporting event I can remember seeing was a rodeo. My uncle worked at the state fair in the band, and my dad worked at the Colorado State Fair also, running the band shell there. Or passes or whatever, and we would go up with the band and sit above the chutes. And I mean, this was when the bullfighters were still clowns. And I can remember as a little kid on the wrong end of the bull at some point during the ride, and the bull flipped him up with his head, and he came up past us at the top of the kid. Here comes this cowboy up. Yeah, thump. Wow, that was cool. But unless you were the bull, and the clowns were there just to kind of distract the bulls. That certainly was not what we see now as with the Dickies bullfighters and all those.
No.
And by the way, we got to give a shout out to Flint Rasmussen, who is the entertainer of the year. And when the come to Vegas, I would be hard pressed to say there's a more entertaining man performing than Flint Rasmussen, who does thing he can think of, and some that didn't think of, he just does. And to make that many people smile, and he sings, he dances, he runs up to the stands. And one of the cool things was in the handicap Sunday, the day that JB did his injury, he went up way up, almost to the top area of the Thomas and Mack to sit with, and they named as the I believe it was Eddie, fan of the year. And here the spotlight is, and here's the newly crowned world champion. And he went up. I mean, can you imagine Tom Brady going up in the Super Bowl and say, "Well, here's a guy in a wheelchair. I think I'll sit with him and take a picture and fan for life." And that's what JB Mooney did. What a tremendous crowd. What a great group of people. the biggest jackass in the whole bunch is me. But for the people that perform or whatever, I mean, the worst guy out there is still a hell of a guy. There's no acrimony, there's no argument, there's no nothing like that. You see former champions when they had them all lined up, and you saw, Adriano Moraes and standing next to Silvano Alves. I mean, that's 6 championships there, and JB was still riding, and Mike Lee, and and you just go down that list of their former champions, and you look around. I mean, Chris Shivers was there. Now he's a pickup man. This is, I believe, Chris was a world champion for the PBR. All these guys, and what an impressive group. What an impressive sport, how they have handled everything and gone through some ownership changes. And now Sean Gleason, the CEO, Jim Haworth, the president, giving up some power and some of that, but a very, very well put on event. I believe it's very unfortunate that it's moving from the Thomas and Mack. I just don't think it will ever be the same again. To me, it's like moving the Indy 500 over to skirts of town. Okay, it's just different. You can call it whatever you call it, but it's going to be different. So it remains to be seen how that works out. By the way, I do still have my golf tee, and we were most fortunate to get to go cover the rider luncheon at Del Frisco's, and they were perfect hosts there. What a great place, man! If you come into Vegas and you want something really good to eat, go to Del Frisco's. But they're at Paradise and almost Flamingo, I guess it is, here in Las Vegas. And well, what a tremendous staff, and what a beautiful place, and they couldn't have been more accommodating hosts, and so we appreciate them. And we're also not going to forget on Media Day the Rouge Bar at the MGM. Oh, yeah. And what a fun thing that was, and those people went way out of their way to make everybody feel comfortable and at home. So our hats are off to the entire thing, Mark. It's unfortunate that the other sports don't really pick it up like that, but in about a month we're going to see the NASCAR guys come in for Champions Week, and that's always exciting, and they do that very well. And you can see the imprint of Jeff Motley and the entire group out there. Chris Powell from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, as we are the host city, they certainly put out a great effort to make Champions Week here for NASCAR a special event. And folks, if you want to get up close and personal with drivers and with people that are your heroes, you just go down to Fremont Street and stand there along that red carpet. Was it 2-3 blocks long, Mark?
Yeah.
And the driver.
See. The interesting thing about Fan Week,
that's one of the coolest things I've ever done.
Yeah, I mean, with NASCAR has always been about the fans. They know, they've got that figured out. Yeah. Okay, and so when they moved Champions Week here, which was the smartest move they made in ages. Now, if they just give us a night race, we'd be really happy.
A second race. I don't care if it's night, day.
Just give us a
evening. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
but
we need it.
But Champions Week, they do it so classy because both the they open access to the fans to the top 16 drivers, and at the same time they've got their private stuff going on with the sponsors and the mechanics and the dealers and all that stuff. But it's so it's just coming from a business side point to look that they do it on both sides and still have the fan involved almost the entire process. Whether you want to see them driving down the strip and all that, or if you want to get in a suit and tux and go to a party, they do it.
And here's one of the coolest things about NASCAR when they come here is they're not so haughty that they only do their thing on the strip. They for their Champions Week, they have a strip thing and they have a downtown thing, and they incorporate all of Las Vegas into that yep. Champions Week, and they make it special. And both things are cool. You get them haulers lined up, and you get the cars coming down and doing the burnouts on the strip, Mountain and Las Vegas section where the Win is and the TI. And you see that is something so exclusive to the strip. and then you go downtown. Well, I guess we start downtown. No, I forget whichever order it goes, but you see the guys coming down and signing autographs and walking that red carpet, and then getting up there and playing the whatever silly little game they've come suit for drivers or whatever cool things. But it really humanizes them to they're not just guys in helmets going 200 miles an hour in a circle. These are you see guys like Junior, who by the way is going to get my vote for here. Dale Earnhardt Jr., by far and away the most popular driver. Bill Elliott won that award like 10 or 11 times. And certainly not near the iconic figure that Dale Earnhardt Jr. Junior was eliminated. He ran second in a race he had to win at Talladega, and Kevin Harvick. So there's some conjecture as to purpose or just it was a wreck. He was having a problem. I believe his exhaust or the manifold, whatever it was causing his car not to run nearly to run, and they had to go from a possibility of 3 green-white checkers, meaning they want the race to end under green. So they restart it, and even if they have to add laps after, I mean, a 500-mile race can end up being a 510-mile race or thereabouts. And fuel mileage comes in and all those things come in. But anyway, they said for Talladega, because whatever, we're going to have one attempt at a green-white checker. And if the yellow flag comes out after that restart, that's the end of the race. And that's exactly what happened. And Earnhardt was in second, and didn't have a chance to get around Joey Logano, who swept all 3 eliminator rounds races. I mean, he's won 3 in a row, which is a fairly rare occurrence with NASCAR anyhow. But the conjecture is that Kevin Harvick wrecked or caused the wreck or didn't get out of the way, and Trevor Bayne said he did it on purpose, and that's who was involved in the wreck. And Denny Hamlin got out of a fiery car and whatever, and they whether Harvick did it on purpose or not, only he and God are the only two that really know for sure. But it eliminated Dale Earnhardt from the chase contention. And my God, what a celebration there'll be when that kid ever wins a championship. And he's about as due as anybody is due. He races for Hendrick. He's got great equipment. He's got a good team under him. He's a very talented driver. Things have just not gone his way. And now with this new setup, more than just winning races has come into it. Now it's winning races at a particular time in the season, and they have their playoffs, and it's got its warts like most frogs do or toads do. But nonetheless, Earnhardt got out of his car and said, "Hey, that's the rules everybody was playing by, and it happened to me. And good luck to those that are left fighting for." And so I thought it was a very, very classy move by a classy young man who has dealt with enormous amounts of pressure from NASCAR. I mean, you take arm. It's it really is one of the cool things to see somebody that popular and that who could be that head up his ass stuck up and is not. And he laughs and smiles and is cool with the fans and stands there and will pose for 1,000 pictures if that's what it takes. And but I think the pressure on Dale Earnhardt Jr. His dad died 14 years ago, coming up on 15 years in February. The Dale Earnhardt Sr. died, and this kid's been under that pressure constantly since then. He's, maybe if he'd been named Bob or Joe or something
other than Dale
Jr., it would be different. There's no the pressure on the rest of the Earnhardt clan, whether it's Kerry Earnhardt, the brother, or now Jeff Earnhardt, the nephew, and that is just not the same as being named Dale Earnhardt. And then you got Junior. Okay. So, he's known as Junior, but he handles that about as well as anybody ever has. I don't know if there's ever been an equal, something that you could compare it to what this guy's had to go through. And Harvick also, he's the guy that took over. He was not supposed to be racing in Cup, and they gave him 29 instead of 3, but he took the ride after Dale timely death, which Mark, we both, I think, are very convinced that had Dr. Dean Sicking been around and his invention of the safer barrier, steel and foam energy reduction barrier had been around then, that Dale Earnhardt Sr. probably would have survived that wreck pretty much unscathed,
definitely.
and then it cost him his life. And the things that have come about this device and the soft wall, the safer barrier, have saved and so many devastating injuries. And for one guy to give his life for that, you know, you don't want to belittle anybody's life, but man, at least something good came out of it. It wasn't just that he was entertaining us and died doing it. But
yes, totally agree with you.
You know, those things happen. Speaking of people that have passed away, World Series on Game 1, Edson Volquez start for the New York Mets, and there's some controversy, I guess we'll call it that. His dad passed away in the Dominican Republic of a heart attack at the age of a day, and they chose not to tell him that his father had died. I believe he knew he had some medical episode, but they didn't tell him until after the game that his father. And you know, should I or shouldn't I? Slipper. And my mom called, and boy, when they call you over to the pit and say you got a phone call, you know it ain't good news.
Yeah.
You know, and saying you're the guy that won the $10 million for life or whatever it is, you knew it was not going to be a happy thing. And my mother called and said, your dad has had a cerebral hemorrhage, and so I was working and made my flight out. The next day, she called and said the same thing. Rick, you got to call in the pit. Oh my God. And said my father had passed away. I stayed at work. I had to leave that next morning. My friend John took me to the airport, and I got on and flew back home. But you know, I know what that put that out of your mind. And I at work, and I think I would have felt much worse had somebody known me. So I don't know how Edson Volquez and the Mets or whomever made that decision to not tell him is going to work out in the future. But for now, our thoughts and prayers out to him. He's back in the Dominican Republic and may or may not make it back for the remainder of the World Series, which if it continues to go like it is, it's got 2 more games in New York and the Kansas City Royals, who were last year's runner-up. And I don't know if that fueled their boy, you talk about a team that's hot right now, and that's the team I always like to choose, Mark, when it comes down to who do you like. I like the team that's playing the best right at the moment, and that by far and away is the Kansas City Royals, who, by the way, we got the jersey. This is a Bo Jackson jersey, one of the most popular Royals, one of the greatest athletes to ever walk the face of the earth, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, have you been following the World Series, Mark? I know you're not a huge baseball guy. You're a Twins fan. How could you be a big baseball guy? Oops, sorry.
Okay, baseball is right. Baseball to me is like NASCAR. It's got to be live. To watch baseball live, especially in an outdoor field. Hated it in the dome. I have seen the Twinkies play twice in the dome, sterile as can be. I remember as a kid seeing them
Humphrey Dome.
Oh yeah. And I remember as a kid seeing them in the original Met Sports Stadium outside. And then when I lived in Atlanta to go see the Braves play outside, to be out in the night air, beautiful night air, just watching baseball at night, whether they win or lose, you could care less. It's just a very nice thing to watch. But watching it on TV,
Yeah. You're right, and George Carlin was good about. He had a great bit about the difference between baseball and football.
Yes,
yeah. Go ahead.
Unless, where is it in Toronto? They've got that indoor stadium that has a hotel in the backfield, and for a while there they used to have the camera would scan the hotel rooms, and once in a while they'd catch a few people with the curtains open.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The kinky group up there, yes. And it's the Mile High airplane, and if we can, hey, check us out. It's the incredible exhibitionist area. But yeah, you're right, Mark. Going to a baseball game, there's occasions when people hoop and holler and are all hyped up, but for the most part, when it's a 1, 2, 3 inning or so, there's nothing really more boring than a no-hitter. Because nobody's done what they were supposed to do. Now, when you get to the 8th or 9th inning, it gets a little more exciting. But when you're watching teams just go up there and flail away and nobody gets on base and there's no real activity, it is a little boring. It takes a while for people to notice, hey, he hasn't given up a hit yet. Cueto, speaking of not giving up a hit, only gave up 2 hits.
Well,
and last night.
Look at here. We have Area 51s, and they play down at Cashman Field. They're a minor league team, but they're fun to watch because it's outdoors, and you just have that. Okay, yeah.
The atmosphere is different.
It's $1 beer night. That kind of helps.
Mark, outdoors, if you got to spit, whatever it is, you lean over and spit a little on the down by your feet or whatever, and you're good. When you're inside a building, it just feels different. You do different things on the sidewalk, even though you're in a concrete thing inside. It's just different. It's like the difference between being downtown and shopping or being in the mall. Yeah. So, it loses something indoors. And, of course, then there's always the claims of, well, they turn on the air conditioning when we're up at bat and that blows the wind in. And then when they're at bat, they open the doors and, they control some of the different things. When the Rockies came about in the early 90s, they really went back and forth on whether they should have a domed stadium or not. And those were quite a bit of the arguments were that it changes baseball. It fundamentally changes that sport when you play it indoors as opposed to outdoors. So, by the way, Torrey Hunter, speaking of the Mets and the Twinkies, retired, 20-year career. What a tremendous player Torrey Hunter is. If you like seeing guys steal home runs, here's your guy. Mike Trout does a great job with the Angels now, but the time guy is Torrey Hunter getting up that fence and sticking that glove over and making a catch that very few people on the face of the earth could do, and he happened to play up there in Minnesota and do it often. I would like to. I wonder how many home runs he's actually brought back into the park. I know. There's probably quite a few of them that have kids named after Torrey Hunter, but. Okay, football. Football, yeah, Thursday night football, and then we have all day some games. There's college games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and we're going to get into almost every day of the week. We'll have football. The Jacksonville Jaguars love playing in London for whatever reason. That might be the franchise that would move or something like that. But they've signed an extension to continue to be one of the host teams when they go over to London and play. And so I guess they have it down pat, and it's not like they're all that good in the first place. So they go over there, and they're quite the to go see NFLers play. They play football in the same place they play soccer. And how many people go watch soccer? Whoa, that's what it looks like when there's actually scoring. That's what it looks like when nil is not part of the deal,
The only problem is when somebody chips a nail, they stop the game for 30 minutes while they timeout.
But they get to use that to keep that time for extra time, And it always amazes me how these guys get they get tripped up and they're laying there like they have been gut shot. It's like, get up, dude. The guy tripped you. He tripped you. He waved. Okay, you got it. Get up. Get back in the fray. I think we're just used to that as Americans, and it just doesn't. I don't think soccer is ever going to go mainstream.
It's not like a 2,200-pound bull just ran you over.
Yeah, that's Mark, what's your favorite sport? Not the favorite sport. As a kid, did you have one? Were you a big bowling fan, or what did you like up there?
Wow, that's a good question.
Thank you. I tried.
That's a good question.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Sorry, I wasn't a sports guy. My brother was number 3 wrestler in the school district. So I was his practice
Yeah,
dummy.
wrestling in the.
You know, that's probably being being the younger brother. He'd like, Mark, come here. I want to show you something. Come here. Oh, okay. Oh.
And they throw you off the roof.
Yeah, basically.
My little brother got away with that because we're 12 and a half years. Then my younger brother came along. So I was his protector. He was way too little to beat up or do anything. So, I just beat up on the neighborhood kids and made them do. I was kind of the big brother there. We lived in a little enclave. Houses on the street when we moved up to this part of town and where I grew up as a kid. So I was the tweener. I was younger than the kids that were in high school, like my sister. There was a 4 or 5 year gap there. And then there was me. And then there was a group of kids that were still in elementary school. So I was always, either the littlest of the big guys or the biggest of the little guys. And so I kind of ruled the roost there and got everybody involved in sports. We would get out in the street and play something damn near every day. We were doing something. We were either playing touch football out in the street and 3 flies, up, and whatever we could do, we were out there doing something athletic. I still am not good at this. I would not have been good because I just don't do the thumb thing to play video games. We used to get out there in the air. I'm sure in Minnesota, it was just like grab the shovel and get that the basketball court or the tennis court or whatever it is. If you want to play, you cleaned it off and went about it, And nothing like tennis in 30-degree weather, is there? I've done that before in Colorado.
No, but
that ball hurts like a son of a gun.
The problem with tennis, the problem with tennis in 30-degree weather, the girls don't wear the short shorts, so it's really not that fun.
Yeah.
It's got the whole park thing. That is the one thing that South Park, the television show, got right, man. You're just, you're in that parka and your arms are just like, 2 little nubs.
Yeah, they're not much. They're not a great deal. I didn't ski. I'm from Colorado. I don't ski. I always had orthopedic injuries that somewhat limited that, but I just never saw the great fun that I guess it must be for some people. I think it's more trendy. I think people say they're having fun exaggeratedly more than they actually had fun skiing and now snowboarding. That looks like a different kind of animal and a little more freedom. Surfing on the snow. Okay, that has something cool to it. But that skiing. When we moved back from here to Colorado, we went to lived in Victor, Colorado, and my 2 oldest kids were in grade school, and they only went 4 days a week because they didn't want to subject them to the weather if they could eliminate one day. So on that 5th day, as they've eliminated travel, and I think for $5 the kids have got to go skiing up 100 miles or so on a school bus to the ski area, and so I thought that was cool. My kids had never skied, and I certainly never had the ability to teach them or do anything instruction and come home to skiing after skiing. And so first day, how'd you guys do? And my daughter Risa, who's the oldest, said, "Oh, it was fun, Daddy." She said, "Jimmy skied backwards." And I said, "Wow, that's first day. That's pretty good. How'd that happen?" Well, they were kind of holding on to each other after they got off the lift, and she grabbed onto him and spun around. And as she tried to help him, she put her skis over the top of his skis, and then they started going downhill. And she was steering, and Jimmy was looking up the hill. And so they went for a while before they. She was much happier about him skiing backwards than he actually was about
skiing
backwards. It was not. It was not the highlight of his day. He wasn't near as tickled about it as she was.
Yeah.
But okay. To me, it looks like the Kansas City Royals. Now you're talking about the Mets have to win 4 out of 5. They have 1 game for error. It's very, very important that you get that split in those first 2 games. If you don't win one of those first 2, the next 2. If you don't tie it up at 2-2 when you get back to your home field, you really have no shot. I mean, a very, very short list of teams that have lost the first two, and 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 then one of the next two. I mean, anybody that's down either 3-0 or 3-1. It's a very, very short list of somebody that just can go ahead and sweep the last three. So, I think the Kansas City Royals are deserving of everything they've got. They were the runner-ups last year. It's a tough deal to come back and get back to the World Series, and they've done that. And I think they're going to win it. They just seem to have everything going for them, and the good Johnny or bad Johnny Cueto, the kid they picked up from Cincinnati in mid-season. You never know if he's the guy that's going to show up and just throw batting practice, or he's the guy that's going to come up and throw lasers. And last night for the Kansas City Royals, complete game. I think the first one for the Royals in the World Series or in the playoffs at least, since Brett Saberhagen. Who that was in the 80s. I think it was 85. And there are not many, and they had really used up 14 innings the night before. The one thing you want to do is not have to go into that bullpen, because you may have your second baseman pitching in that last inning. You don't have any arms left, guys. You're not going to go out there and ruin somebody's career for one out or one inning or something like that. And Johnny Cueto certainly earned every penny that the Royals are paying him by going out and throwing a complete game and a two-hitter at that. And the Mets I hope when they get back to Shea, I would like to see this series go 7. I like baseball. I don't want the baseball season to really end on a kind of a downer. And for the people in Kansas City, that's they would be terribly happy. But I don't think the TV executives would be happy. I don't think you just want it to be more exciting than it is. So, but now we're in the stretch for football. We got 2 undefeated teams going, Mark, Packers and the Broncos. And the Broncos have certainly been fortunate, as far as I'm concerned, to be 6-0. The Packers have looked much more like a legitimate 6-0 team, but they are playing at Mile High Stadium. And both teams bring defense. The Broncos #1 in damn near every category. It's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out, but I think this will be a make or break thing for either team. If the Broncos can hold serve and figure out a way to beat the Packers in Denver, they certainly are in the driver's seat, along with in the playoffs, and that's a huge thing because Mile High Stadium is a big advantage. We talked about Minnesota. I think they haven't won a Super Bowl because they gave up the greatest home field advantage ever by moving indoors. I mean, let's make the fans more comfortable. Yeah, well, it did that. The fans get to sit there. It could be 13 below zero outside, and it's still 75, 80 degrees inside the dome. But it's also that way for the other players. And when Bud Grant was the coach, he said, "We'll install heaters on the benches when we win a Super Bowl." So they never did have the heaters out there, and you would see the steam rising up off of guys' heads, and they, nobody wants to get hit when it's that cold. God, that hurt, that stung, and they gave that up. So anyway, the Broncos have a distinct advantage, being they call it the Mile High City, and they make sure you know about it. When you go to play there, if you come from the Flatlands and you're up to welcome to Mile High Denver and the Mile High Stadium and mile this and mile that, and oxygen tanks and everybody does what they can, but they have a huge advantage. Packers, and they talk about the cold weather cities. Kansas City in December has a wonderful record just because it's so bitterly cold and windy, and whatever it is in Kansas City, it's not hospitable, and so they have that advantage. And the Vikings gave it up. So would you like to see them play outdoors some more? They are building a new stadium, right?
Yep. Yes,
They're
are
playing outdoors at the University of Minnesota. By the way,
right.
Jerry Kill had to retire as the University of Minnesota coach because of his epilepsy. It's not under control enough for him to be, it's choose one or the other. You want your career and die, or you want to try to get this epilepsy under control and have the rest of your life that's as normal as we can make it. And he couldn't do both. So God bless him. We certainly hope that he is restored to good health. but the epilepsy has ended that for him, and that's unfortunate. Jerry Kill's a good guy. What do you think about the coaches, Mark, that are Rick Pitino comes to mind. He's got this. They paid. I mean, I guess we're used to it here. People pay for sex and whatever. Okay, it's no big deal. But the recruiting, you can't buy them lunch. So they said, well, we can't buy this kid lunch. Let's get him laid. And I think if you said, all right, we got two buses. One's going to a buffet and one's going to a whorehouse. We're going to have a short line and a long line. And I think you have to really, really be hungry to not get in where you're going to get laid.
Okay.
Line. And that's
okay. Since you've asked that question,
yes,
it goes back to just like your hatred for the PBR going to the MGM because of the greed.
I don't hate it. I just don't think it's a great idea. I just think it's going to change things for the worse. I don't think there's some things that are going to be better, Mark, but I don't hate them. I just don't.
Well, yes, but they're following the dollar. And when you talk coaching and college sports, you have to talk about the big white greedy elephant in the middle of the room called the NCAA. And the fact that they are basically
that's what that stands for, NCAA,
and screwing the kids. So and it's sad because it is putting that coach in that gray area that I have to do this to get this kid. So I have to bend this rule to get this rule to get this kid because this kid is going to bring us millions of dollars, and all we have to do is buy him some books.
Yeah, that's right. Those days are behind everybody, Mark. And like they say in NASCAR or whatever, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Right.
So the whole idea is, here's the rule book. Where can you find an advantage or a disadvantage? Donald Trump is not apologetic about you going bankrupt. He says, I used the laws to my advantage, but I didn't break the law. No. I just simply did what was available. And so there's some, okay, you're right. We made the rules and everybody lives by them. I'm not neither a big Donald Trump fan either, but he's right. Here's the rules, and I figured out how to use them to my advantage, and he did just that. So, okay, well, that's what they try to do in college athletics anymore, and it is big business now, Mark. College athletics used to rule the roost. There was no such thing as nobody gave a damn about the NFL. The NBA certainly was behind the curve as far as the people that they had and the fans that they had, as opposed to college basketball. And then they had the cheating scandal, New York University, and that really put a real slowdown in how the fans and that fan base grew. And the NFL, they were around for a while, like 30 years or so, and then Johnny Unitas and Alan Amici in the overtime game against the Giants, and they won the championship, and it was televised. It was 59, and it was televised, and it was one of those things, and television certainly does its deal. And then the pros just took off. People recognized that hey, this is something after that's a better product and whatever. And then it wasn't too long after that, the Super Bowl came about, and the merger with the AFL and all those different things. But college ball used to rule the roost, and everybody making their money off the backs of kids who don't get anything out of it but an education, which you can get. It is not, I don't think there's a single young man or young woman who generates income for or performs for a university athletically, for a university, that could not get the same education through student loans or Pell Grants or those kinds of things. They always throw that up. Well, you get this free education. Yeah, well, you know what? Harvard doesn't give scholarships. So you get an education, you get a diploma, but I'm not so certain about the education that you get. You do get the diploma when the end of the 4 years, but you're really there. It's this hypocrisy that I don't like, Mark. We're going to hire you at less than minimum wage. We're going to give you all these rules that you have to follow, and you have to go to class, and you have to do this and have to do that. And at the end of the day, you're going to bring us millions and millions of dollars into our coffers, and we will give you the diploma. And, guys graduate and don't know how to read. You certainly hear that. There's some of them very well spoken, and there's some guys that go back and get their degrees and realize there is more than athletics. When it's over, I need to be able to do something else. I applaud them. But I think that should be for everyone. If you perform and bring in millions and millions of dollars, I think it should be a lifetime scholarship whenever you want to, wherever you want to go. If it's an NCAA school that you're performing for, and that scholarship, say you go play at the University of Hawaii, great. You put your 4 years in there, and Hawaii does whatever they do, and they win whatever they win, and you've generated this amount of money. You're from Utah. You get to go home and go to school in Utah. The NCAA has enough money that they've generated that they should be able to accommodate these kids until they actually get educated and not just a diploma. At least that's my opinion. So.
Well, that and I mean, I know because we've done we've done these other sporting events where you and I have talked to these kids. They really are trying to serve two masters. I mean, they are in that stage of life where they still, to a point, respect their elders. So, it's like, okay, you're going to go to school and you're going to play ball. Well, okay. So then they go to school, and the school knows how important the sport is. So the teachers will let them slide and not challenge them because they got to play ball.
Yeah.
And so, these kids aren't really aware of the fact that they're being used as much as they are. And they're not being challenged because of the fact that they are an athlete. Yes, they do know that being an athlete brings them a lot of perks, but they don't realize the cost of that until they're 10 years down.
You get to see naked cheerleaders, if that's a perk. I mean, the quarterback always got to see that anyway. So it's, I agree with you, Mark.
And then you add to the fact that the schools are not watching the coaches because, you don't want to bring harm to that bag of money sitting there. And
they just look the other way.
Yeah.
You get guys like, and now Patino did not go to the ACC media day to not stand up and say, okay, here's what happened, and I'm sorry. I think people would have been okay. It's what you did to generate millions of dollars for our university here at Louisville. You've done this. You've brought in millions and millions of dollars and educated other people's kids by your efforts, by your recruiting efforts, and the way you teach these kids how to play ball and this and that. I mean, you're talking about I love coaches and how the athletics makes a kid that couldn't dribble a basketball if you had a gun to his head get a better education, because college athletics has brought money in, and money's what drives the deal, to where you have better equipment in the lab, the chemistry lab, or you've been able to retain professors that might have gone into the private sector, and now you retain them as teachers and spread the wealth and say, okay, one guy working for one company can only do X amount. If he can teach 50 or 100 kids in any given school year to do the same thing or to impart his knowledge on them, I think that's how society works so much better. You look at what we say about Dr. Sicking, his entire, Dr. Dean Sicking, his entire message to you and I, Mark, when we met him here, is that he just wants to save lives. He just wants to make that as efficient a process as humanly possible with the cushioning technology that he has. And we are most fortunate, Mark. By the way, Dr. Sicking will be in the first week of November into Las Vegas, and I believe we are going to do some things that are going to shake up the world, Mark. I know you're aware of them. Between the bus stop safety barriers, Vegas bets that we have, where we want the worst thing that happened to you at a bus stop is you missed the damn bus, and not that you got killed and never made it back home. So I think we're well on our way to doing that, Mark. We also are working on, with Dr. Sicking, on some incredible forward steps for headgear, an incredibly much more safe sport, whether it's boxing or mixed martial arts, or as we talked about, the Pro Bowl riders, and the same exact technology just downsized to fit a head rather than to fit a bus stop or to fit a racetrack or to do whatever, I think is going to be an absolute just a huge, we're going to shake up the world, Mark. And all that goes back to Dr. Dean Sicking and the University of Alabama, Birmingham, who lost their football team for a year. And what one of the great oxymorons, you have this guy who can make football such a much safer sport by not having people's eggs scrambled because they got hit in the head or they hit head to head, helmet to helmet, because it's going to absorb the impact. I think it's an amazing thing to be witness to these possibilities, Mark, for the fundamental changes that are about to come about to sports, and it's one of the most humbling, awesome things I have ever been involved in, and I thank God every night, Mark, that I'm involved, and I know you do too. And I couldn't ask for much of a better of a media director for us, and I do appreciate your efforts. But I'm so much looking forward to talking to Dr. Sicking when he comes in, and we have brief phone conversations. If I have a 10-minute conversation with Dr. Sicking, it's because he's taken 10 minutes that he would be doing something else.
Right.
He's not relaxing. I never interrupt the guy when he's out by the pool. Or nobody ever answers, says, well, he's in the hot tub. When you call the guy, you get the message, at the beep, please leave a message. And then when it beeps, it says the mailbox is full. And when I talk to him, it's both his cell phone and his office mailbox. And he says he does not go a single day when he does not come back to a full mailbox of people wanting to use his technology or to use use the things that he has come up with to here's an idea, or here's something I want you to work on, or can you do this? I mean, the man is working on the guardrails for all of humanity to keep people from dying on the highways, and that's how this entirety started. I believe IndyCar went to him and said, we've got guys now approaching 250 miles an hour, and when they hit the wall, they're dying. It's a plane crash into a wall, and he developed the safer barrier, steel and foam energy reduction, and he was at the University of Nebraska at their Highway Safety Institute, and now is at Alabama, Birmingham. Like I say, they did without a football team for a year, and it was only this groundswell of support from the community that said we need to have a football team here. We want the Blazers to continue to play, and so they resurrected the football team. But here on the other side of the campus, they have this man working on technology that's going to make football a much safer sport. Guys are going to get hurt. Guys are going to tear up knees, and guys are going to get shoulder injuries and this and that. But if he can, which I know he can, the technology is there to virtually eliminate concussions from that sport alone, Mark. Much less you think about our my favorite sport, the Pro Bowl riders. And NASCAR too, but NASCAR it's external. The wall's there, but to keep these guys who get flung 15 foot in the air by a bull, okay, good. It doesn't hurt you up there. It's when they thump, they land on the dirt that is packed enough that the bulls don't sink into the dirt. They stay right on top of the dirt.
Right.
So when they land, it's with a thud, and then the bullfighters have to kind of come over and put their lives on the line to protect a guy who's laying there unconscious because he hit. He just happened to land. There ain't no landing gear on them cowboy boots. So Dr. Sicking working very, very hard to make all sports, as many sports as we can, to make them safer by eliminating concussions and those kinds of things. So I'm just tickled to be a part of it, Mark, and I know you are too. And so we will report.
Well, I mean, because of what's going on, we can't say very much, but it's like every time we turn around, we go, what if we took that technology and put it there?
Yeah.
And the doctor goes, okay, we'll put that to the list. Okay. After we do this, we'll start there.
Yeah. And the time that's all it really comes down to. If the guy had 48-hour days instead of 24-hour days, he'd still be busy. He still wouldn't have time to go sit out by the hot tub and or go to the beach and Puerto Vallarta and drink a Corona and throw pebbles into the ocean. He just doesn't have that time. What the guy's doing is saving lives. and we're gonna be with Dr. Sicking on Monday and Tuesday here in Las Vegas, and we're meeting with several of the most influential people in some huge sports, and I believe we're going to get this done, Mark. And we will on our next show next Thursday. Is that the deal?
Yep.
Okay, on our next show next Thursday, I believe we will have some real earth-shaking possibilities and news to report and to share. And again, I don't know how we got chosen, Mark. I'm just damn happy that we did, and I believe God put everybody in the same place at the same time for a reason. And if that was just to get this done, well, it will be by far and away, other than the fathering my 4 children, the biggest thing that I've ever done, the most important thing that I have ever done. And I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure it's the same thing. Have you fathered 4 of my children?
Thank you for that image.
I don't know how I mixed that in there, but anyhow, well, Mark, I know you have some. I know there are going to be some clips that you have and some still photos from the Pro Bowl riders that I believe are going to be inserted into this show. Is that correct?
You got that right. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, flip over to YouTube and you're going to see some cool photos of some bull riders and bulls and cowboys.
Bullfighters. Yeah, there you go. I'm very hard pressed to leave out the bullfighters because they're part of every ride. It's almost like the catcher in a baseball game. You really don't notice him, but he's in every play. Well, them bullfighters, when you talk about sports coordination, you see them line up where they move around and they adjust to every bull. And when you hear Shorty goes on the air and Shorty Gorham goes on the air and talks about this bull will do this and this bull will do that, they have that all up there. They're not, when you walk down the hall in the back, and I'm walking over to the side that I get to shoot photos from, they're there. They don't have paperwork. It doesn't say this bull does this or this bull does that. They've got it all up here. And then they set themselves up accordingly, and it is really cool. It is really a cool sporting thing to watch the coordination and the choreography that goes into bullfighting. And I'm as appreciative of them and their efforts as I possibly could be. I mean, you look at those 2 groups, between them and Dr. Sicking, I mean, how much more saving can you do?
Yep.
Oral Roberts is jealous, So anyhow, well, any parting shots here, buddy?
Let's go have
NBA
fun.
started.
Yeah.
Let's go have fun. It's Vegas. I'm ready to party. All right. Well, for Mark Anthony and
quick.
Yes, sir.
Let's do Twin Peaks for NASCAR burnouts.
Twin Peaks for NASCAR burnouts. Okay, I'm good.
On the Strip.
It's right there on the Strip. Yeah. We'll have to give them a call. I think we can probably arrange that to our friends at Twin Peaks. And by the way, the Vegas Lions, we got to give them a shout out too. They're not doing their broadcast. They have a TV show, so they've gone from one medium to the next. They are on TV, and we will have a link on our site to their broadcasts. And you want to go see some good football, go watch the Vegas Lions. I believe they're still playing up at the International School in Henderson. They've kind of moved around, not quite like Larry Brown has in his travels, but they're moving around a little bit. So you can find them. We will have a link up on our site. So, well, folks, once again, it has flown by, but for all of us here, I'm Rick Rosen with Mark Anthony. You've been listening to Good Sports, and please take care, and we will talk to you next week right here. You are a part of Good Sports, and we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye.